Welcome to the Explainer. So let's talk about the name vanishing act. Look, we have all been there, right? You just got introduced to someone, what, maybe 30 seconds ago, and you already have absolutely zero idea what their name is. I mean, it is gone, completely wiped. And now you're just standing there wearing what I like to call the hostage smile. You know the one, nodding enthusiastically while desperately searching your brain for a name that simply does not exist anymore. It is a universal, totally panic-inducing moment. But today, we're going to look at the fascinating neuroscience behind exactly why this happens. And as you'll see, you're going to feel a whole lot better about your memory by the end of this.
So, where exactly did their name just go? Let's treat this missing name like a cognitive crime scene that we need to investigate together. Because the very first thing you need to know, you're not being rude, and you're definitely not careless. Your brain is actually doing something genuinely fascinating right now. Think about it for a second. Why do names disappear when practically everything else sticks around? You remember their face, you remember what they were wearing, heck, you might even remember the exact joke they told. But the name? Poof, vanished like it never even had a chance. To crack this case, we have to look at our very first suspect, how your brain actually categorizes words.
Let's look at a quick comparison here. Think about the word hot on one hand, compared to a name like Michael on the other. Here's what neuroscience shows us. Cognitively speaking, names are completely 100% arbitrary. When you learn that something is hot, that word connects directly to a real physical experience. It represents heat, pain, danger, right? It has actual survival value. But the name Michael? It tells your brain absolutely nothing useful about the guy standing in front of you. There's no emotion attached to it, no survival value, no sensory connection whatsoever. It is literally just a random label floating in isolation. And since your brain is this ruthlessly efficient machine that only wants to store things that connect to other things, these isolated islands just fall right through the cracks.
What is really mind-blowing here is the sheer volume of processing happening all at once. When you meet someone new, your brain is taking on a massive cognitive load. I mean, you are simultaneously reading their face, interpreting their body language, deciding if they're safe, processing the environment, and trying to manage your own social anxiety. Just look at all that activity. And somewhere, buried deep inside all of that heavy mental lifting, is a name. A name that was said exactly once, super quickly, with zero emotional weight. So let's reframe that guilt you've been carrying around. This is not forgetfulness, folks. This is your brain's ruthless prioritization during a social introduction. It was simply too busy to file the name properly.
And this brilliantly illustrates a psychological phenomenon called the next in line effect. Okay, so imagine you're about to meet someone or introduce yourself. Your brain is focusing so intensely on your own upcoming performance. You know, what you're going to say, how you're standing, making sure you don't say something completely awkward, that it barely even registers what is currently being said to you. So in the exact precise moment that person's name was spoken, you literally weren't listening. You were way too focused on the social performance aspect of the whole interaction. You didn't forget the name, you just never actually heard it in a meaningful way to begin with.
Now here is a seriously validating plot twist for you. People who forget names easily actually tend to have highly associative brains. That means your memory works through connection and deep meaning, not isolation. If you are a chronic name forgetter, especially if you're kind of creative, maybe a writer, or just a deep thinker, you are probably exceptional at remembering stories, concepts, emotions, and experiences. Why? Because all of those things link to something else in the vast, interconnected web of your memory. Your brain is built for narrative, not nomenclature. You'll remember exactly how they made you feel, or their weird laugh, but an associative brain just does not navigate isolated islands well at all. Since names are basically islands with no bridge in and no bridge out, your highly associative brain just goes, nope, and bypasses them entirely.
All right, let's peel back another layer of our mystery, the attention layer. For a name to actually stick, a very specific biological process has to happen. It's called memory consolidation. Basically, this is the necessary process of transferring new information from your fleeting, temporary working memory into actual short-term storage. But think about when you're in a social setting. You're usually not fully present, are you? You're scanning the room, managing your anxiety, wondering if you have something in your teeth. Only a tiny fraction of your attention catches the name, and then your scattered brain pulls you away before this critical consolidation process can actually take place.
30 seconds. That number is absolutely crucial. Research on memory consolidation shows that new information needs approximately 30 seconds of focused attention to successfully transfer from working memory into short-term storage. 30 seconds of actually paying attention to the input. That is the hard biological requirement for your brain to properly file a piece of information so you can actually recall it later.
But here is where this creates a massive problem for us in the real world: 3 seconds. We just established we need 30 seconds, but reality only gives us 3. In most social introductions, that is literally all you get. The name arrives, and it completely evaporates before your brain has done anything useful with it. Honestly, we are practically setting our brains up for failure every single time we shake a hand.
And then there's this part, which nobody really talks about, the anxiety block. The exact moment you realize you've forgotten someone's name, this low-level panic activates in your body. Now your cognitive resources are split between trying to hold a normal conversation and launching this frantic internal search for a name you never even properly stored. Psychologists call this the tip-of-the-tongue phenomenon's anxious cousin. The name isn't actually totally gone, it's blocked. Your own stress response is literally standing between you and the word you need. And the cruel irony of it all, the harder you reach for the name, the further it retreats.
So, the real trick here is understanding how to shift a name from low priority to high priority. A standard name is low priority for your brain. Random syllables, arbitrary labels, absolutely zero novelty. High-priority memory, on the other hand, requires dopamine triggers, vivid visual images, and an emotional charge. Research actually shows dopamine plays a huge role in encoding memory. When something triggers dopamine, your brain lights up and signals, hey, this matters, store it. You know those memory champions at world competitions? They don't have physically larger brains than us. They just use this exact chemistry to their advantage. They take those boring, low-priority labels and immediately convert them into emotional, visual narratives. They essentially trick their brains into releasing dopamine, giving the brain the bridge it desperately needs to hold on to the information.
So how do we fix this without needing a PhD in neuroscience? Well, if you forget names constantly, first, remember, you are not self-absorbed. Your brain is just filtering ruthlessly. The fix isn't just trying harder to remember in the moment. No way. The fix is giving your associative brain something to actually hold on to. So, here are 3 actionable scientific steps you can take. Number 1, repeat the name immediately out loud. Number 2, connect it to something visual right then and there. And number 3, create a tiny story around it in your head. Tell yourself their name means something. If you can attach a vivid visual image or even an emotion to those random syllables, you are building that crucial bridge to the isolated island. You change the input, and just like that, your brain changes the story.
I really want to leave you with this incredibly powerful and empathetic thought. Forgetting a name doesn't mean you didn't care. It means your brain was too busy experiencing them. Your brain was so engaged in reading them, connecting with them, and processing the real human interaction that it simply didn't have the bandwidth to file an arbitrary label. And honestly, isn't that a much better way to experience the world? So the next time you draw a blank, don't panic. Just ask them directly and warmly. Most people have been exactly where you are, but it does leave you wondering. If our brains are filtering the world this ruthlessly just to save energy, what other incredible details are we missing right in front of us? If this explainer finally solved this lifelong mystery for you and helped remove that quiet embarrassment, hit subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. See you next time.